The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday.
Oh, no. It's the end of the week.
Yeah, thank heavens.
And the headaches have still, even after the election, people are still talking about it. People are still, you know, talking about how they're not happy with it, how some people are happy with it. Guess what? It's over. It's over.
Yep.
It passed, that's it. It wasn't a screaming mandate. It wasn't that the entire city said, yay, we're going to do this. It was a simple majority, and that was it.
And of a very poor turnout, by the way.
Right, and it was, and I think that's a bigger issue than whether or not this passed or failed. The bigger issue is the fact that 48,000 registered voters and 8,000 people showed up to vote.
Yeah. And out of those 8,000, a majority of them were the people who were affluent enough not to care. That's why it prevailed 3-2, basically. And it wasn't a mandate, but then again, it's a mandate from the people in their apathy because, again, they'll complain later when this bites them in the butt because they keep talking about this isn't gonna go in effect immediately, and we're gonna have time to straighten it out. Well, we're not gonna have time to straighten it out because we get. Just as the campaign for the yes side, you know, misrepresented fact and say, with prophecies of doom like, oh, we're going to lose the school, lose the state money and everything else if you don't vote. And about 85% of the people who voted on a question thought they were voting on whether to get a school or not to how to fund it. But the reality is that we're getting mixed messages. You know, the city goes to arbitration, claims they don't have the money to pay the police officers, and then in the next step they go, oh, we're fine, we're going to pay this off in 8 years, and you know, we're not going to have to worry about it, and you know, don't worry about anything. And you know, it's a crock. When's the last time you ever saw a tax, you know, disappear? They're going to leave it. They're going to keep it in effect as long as possible, and they've hidden the fact that this opens the door to do this on every building from now on. Why bother? Why try to stay within your budget? And guess what? This school that we're heralding, we should save all this and put it in a time capsule.
Yeah.
And bury it. Because in 30 years, when they're saying the same thing about the new school that they're saying about the old school, and then trying to get another 30-year bond, the reality is this is forever. Once you go outside the budget, every building will be getting a debt exclusion. You know, until Fall River no longer exists, because that's the reality. They don't have to, they will, you know, the powers to be, the money men, the people who don't care, the people who say, I don't mind paying taxes.
Don't live in Fall River.
And don't live in Fall River. You know, in 30 years, this building will be old and decrepit and need replacing. So that's the reality. But, you know, it's done. Now all we can do is look at options, and one of those options is getting our city council to stop spending money like drunken sailors, because unlike a drunken sailor, it's not their money. It's our money.
The problem is that when you have a city council, which is basically pro-mayor, they never have the audacity or the balls to cut the budget. They just don't do it.
Well, not only cut it, they don't even stay within it. They just keep escalating costs, and so we get taxes every year and fee increases every year, and shifts in the tax factor, and they give out TIFs like you know, and I know that your friend over at the Radio Pravda was talking about how, you know, he was getting on you about saying that Amazon, you know, was no good for Fall River and stuff. And You know, look, let's look at a fact. Let's look at the facts. They got a TIF. They're not paying taxes.
$100 million TIF.
They employ what? About 14 or 15 people from Fall River, and those are all low-wage jobs on a line. Soon they'll be replaced by robots. So in reality, let's look at this objectively, not the fact that we've got this gigantic building and this big name attached to it somewhere in the vicinity of our city. What does it contribute to the city? Is it employing 2,000, 3,000 Fall River residents? Absolutely not. Are they great paying jobs? Absolutely not. And a $100,000 TIF that they got.
100 million.
I'm sorry, 100 million. Well, you know, millions, thousands, it's irrelevant when you're talking about the government because it's our money. But a $100 million TIF, where's that go? Into the taxes. Who pays it? We do. So giving the richest companies around another freebie when they can well afford the taxes is just another example of government out of control. The new government, no more fiscal responsibility. Just spend as much as you can and keep taxing them until they can't pay anymore, and then throw them out in the street. That's 1883 and 2018. Same thing. Tax, and more taxes, and use it for what you want, not what the people want.
Yeah, well, one of our, Dave, one of our viewers, Dave, he just said, I'm getting my ticket to Russia.
That's right. Because, you know, at least in Russia, they don't make any bones about what they're doing. You know, government is great in the United States of telling everybody how sensitive they are to the people, and in reality, the reason that the middle class has disappeared in the United States is because the rich get everything for free, the people on assistance get everything for free, and the working people get their salaries eviscerated until you went from lower middle class or middle class down to working poor. That's basically all we have now in Fall River. The majority of people are working poor, but nobody cares, you know. And the tragedy is, there is a fix to this, and it's not that difficult. You got to get your butt out of the chair or off the couch and walk to the polls and vote people in who are committed to living within a budget, to only spending money when it's necessary, not giving out jobs. 8,000 people out of between 44 and 48,000 registered voters. That is an absolute disgrace. It's a travesty that 8,000 people decided something as important as the future of this city, because there's already the whispers in the background about a debt exclusion for Diamond Regional Vocational, and another debt exclusion for Talbot, and another debt exclusion for this and that. We've opened the door. The horse is out of the barn. And the money men have figured out another way to make the poor people pay for them. As I said.
But it's for the kids, Chip. It's for the kids.
Yeah, well.
And guess what? 4,000 voters bought that hook, line, and sinker.
And you know, the thing was that those 4,000 people are probably the 4,000 people who can't afford the taxes or have a vested interest. And that's the problem. When you, the regular people, the invisibles, the liabilities, and what was that other one used during the other campaign, during the presidential campaign? I forgot what they referred to them as, but
the deplorables.
Deplorables, that's it. The deplorables. If you don't get out there and vote, you know, I mean,
then you know why you're deplorable.
You can be, you know, look. You know, we've been in this game a long time. You know, people, they're gonna push their agenda. It's up to you to protect yourself. You know, this is capitalism. Let the, you know, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. You know, the fact is that, you know, just like the charter we're going to see down the road when they keep making jobs and giving huge pay raises and spending like drunken sailors, that in a few years when it hits, it's really going to hit even harder than it would have hit right now, because you're going to have fees, taxes to the 2.5 for 3 years before this even hits you in the pocketbook. So, you know, it's just a situation where, you know, we're spiraling down the drain. The flush has been flushed even more often. There's nothing left to flush, basically. But
and that's why we have the weekend flush.
That's
Remember,
right. That's why we have the weekend flush, to tell you. But, you know, and they can say, oh, well, you know, I don't blame it on them. I don't blame it on them. I understand human nature. Their attitude is let them eat cake. You can't afford it? Russia. Can't afford it? Sell your house and get out. We don't care. I can afford it. What do I got to worry about you for? Yeah, you know, that's their mentality. And they'll wrap it in that cloak of the children. It's for the children. Yeah, well, the children who didn't make those commercials, the children who are on the school lunch program, the children who are not going to go to college and they're going to go to the unemployment line.
If they even get that far.
If they even get that far, yeah. They're not making the commercials. But then again, a lot of those parents didn't come out and vote.
And when you look at a lot of the kids that did make commercials for this, they're probably going to get their college degrees and never come back.
Well, and statistically, it's been proven. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. I mean, I checked the facts. Fall River's got 14% of its population with bachelor's degrees. You're not going to tell me we only had 14% of the people that ever graduated. But then you look at New Bedford's got around 16. Lowell's got 22%, which is pretty good because Lowell's bigger. 22% of a larger number is even more people. Even those economically depressed cities hold on to their people. So fundamentally what we've just done is vote to educate the children who will go on to college so they can move out of town. So those kids who were holding signs and making commercials will never be affected by this. They're going to get their degrees. They're going to move out. They don't pay taxes now because they're students. And when they get their degree, they're going to move somewhere else. So is it the right way to do it? Do we need a new school? Absolutely. Should we stay within our budget? Absolutely. But the government will not stay in its budget unless we make them stay in the budget. So that's one of the options we're looking at. In the next election, we are going to try to get candidates and have some forums and try to cultivate some candidates that are going to sit in that chamber and not check their brain in at the door when they sit in the well. That remember what city they live in and the people they represent, and maybe try to control stipends and pay raises and new positions, all of which are all superfluous, because we ran this city with none of these positions when we had more people in here, when we had almost 100,000 people. All the departments were larger. The student population was larger. And none of these jobs existed. Special assistants, the CFOs, deans of students. I don't even know what euphemisms they use for the new ones in the mayor's office. But, you know, as I walked into City Hall today for an IEC meeting, I saw clerks standing behind it. They've been standing there for well over 20 years. They're not making $40,000 a year. And I know that sitting in one of those offices is Mary Sahadi, who got $40,000 for a pay raise. And I don't want to hear it went from part-time to full-time. I don't know how she's working full-time, because she's got like 3 full-time jobs. But the fact is that she, you know, the jury is out whether she was in fact full-time or part-time. So that's being checked into as we speak. But, you know, this is the situation. I'm not blaming them. They got, you know, they won this battle. And the people who suffered and now are going to get buyer's remorse like they did with the charter, don't Don't sit at the coffee table and whine. Don't, when I see you in a restaurant, go, this really sucks. And then I say, did you vote? Well, I forgot.
Do you know
We
how,
control our own destiny. If you put people in those seats and in that mayor's office who's going to spend your money on what you want it spent on, your tax money, and live within our budget, and where tax increases and fee increases are a last resort, not a first option, then things will change. And until then, it is a self-inflicted wound.
Do you know how many times I heard from somebody since the election, oh, well, I forgot about going out, or I didn't have time. I had to go to work, and I had to be to work at 9 o'clock. Well, the polls opened at 7. Oh, I'm not that coordinated. I'm not that, able to schedule myself that way. Then don't complain about it, because they were the ones complaining about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear it. But I can tell you now that on March 20th at the State of the City address, the mayor's going to chalk this up as one of his successes, as we know.
Actually, and remember what he is considering one of his great achievements: imposing more taxes on you.
That's right. And I mean, under the new charter, he's required by the 3rd Wednesday of March to have a State of the City address. It wasn't until people started asking him about it that he finally decided he was going to do it. And he's going to do it the day before the due date, which is going to be the 20th. And you can almost take bets on the fact that he's going to say that getting this debt exclusion, that this override, and even the newspaper now is referring to it as an override. Override, override, override. I guess it wasn't an override before, but now it's an override. That he's going to declare this a victory for him, because he's going to be the mayor of more taxes and more spending. And remember what he ran on? Controlling spending, controlling financial spending. So,
yeah, which is his code word for making sure he has enough money under his control to give everybody he knows a job and a pay raise and a stipend.
That's it. That's what's happening.
That's the definition of that's his definition.
I mean, you just look at some of this spending control. Monica Souza, she's hired full-time as a special assistant. Then she's given more time with CDA. How can she be working as a full-time special assistant and a part-time CDA person over the same hours? You can't do that.
And you can't mix the federal job description with the city.
Right, you can't do it.
That's already been adjudicated, by the way, with Mayor Lambert when he did it, with his secretary, who then became quote the chief of staff. He changed the title to justify a pay raise. But this is just a simple matter of, look, this is what happened to Flint, Michigan. This is what happened to Detroit. People just moved out. They just said, screw it. They couldn't. They were selling houses in downtown in Detroit for $1, and they couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted to live in them. The city was a disaster, and nobody wants to come. And you look at our growth rate, and it proves that's the perception of Fall River. We've got to learn how to control our spending and make this city a better city to attract people. We can't just keep giving people jobs and pretending that's going to fix everything.
Why not?
Just like a school building is going to fix it. And it's the kind of the duplicity of this. Somebody showed me a flyer put out by the Chamber of Commerce in support of the bond override, and ironically enough, that's the same Chamber of Commerce that goes in front of the City Council every time we talk about taxes and wants businesses' taxes reduced and shifted over to you, the resident. It's the same Chamber of Commerce that opposes every increase in the minimum wage. And it's the same Congress that, while they're saying vote yes on the override, they're in front of the council whining about its impact on business after they got breaks that we never get. When are we going to get a TIF? When's the city going to say we're going to give everybody in this city, residential taxpayer, a tax holiday? We're going to forego the taxes for them like we did for Amazon. When are we going to tax nonprofits? that use our services, and many, many communities do so. But you know something? Fall River is the bastion of protecting the people who have the most. Just like most cities that are down in the toilet. Atlantic City, New Jersey, made billions, probably trillions of dollars with the gaming industry over the years. And there was a very good documentary on Atlantic City that said that Atlantic City is a dump. It's an absolute dump. You walk off the casino area, it's a dump.
Even the boardwalk is a dump now.
No, even a boardwalk's a dump now, yeah. A lot of them are closed because they got gambling now in Philly and stuff. They've opened up gambling that was there. But the reality is they did a study on that. I saw the study. And basically what they concluded was it remained an absolute crap hole because of the politicians and the government. All that money that they had wasn't reinvested in the community. It was reinvested on projects that were political projects and money spent for political insiders. And they basically just took that money like we do to give out pay raises and stuff while we're killing the taxpayer and then threatening cuts in public safety. But that's exactly what Atlantic City did for years. They collected hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in revenue. But if you collect all that money and misspend it, it doesn't do you any good. Just like when you continue to increase taxes and don't spend it properly, the only thing you ever do is continue to do taxes. Atlantic City should have been a show place. It should have been a jewel in New Jersey with all the money. But they didn't put that money back. They always found a way to get their friends rich and themselves rich, and that's the name of this game. And as we continue to say, two things: follow the money. Our first show, follow the money. And we continue to tell you that it's up to you, the viewers, the people of Fall River, to make sure. Let's start now watching and listening to what they're doing with your money. And in the next election, get up a half an hour or so. Get off the couch, walk to the car, or in some cases, walk across the street or a block.
Or down the stairs.
And vote. But don't vote for the guy that gave you the chow mein sandwich. Don't vote for the guy that gave you the chicken salad and a party hat or something and a piece of cake. Listen to the candidates. Listen to the new candidates. Listen to them say, we need to be fiscally responsible. We need to spend our money wisely. We need to stay within our budget. We've got to stop raising taxes on people who truly can't afford it. Put them in. Give them a shot. I'm not saying they're all telling the truth, but guess what? Every 2 years we have the power to boot them out, and I can guarantee one thing. If you replace a substantial amount of that city council and then replace them again if they don't do what they're supposed to do in your best interest, it won't take them long to get the message. The problem is, like some of our millennials and our children, they have no accountability and no consequences for their actions. They continue to talk a lot but still approve all these new jobs, talk a lot and still approve these stipends, talk a lot and still give these gigantic pay raises while there are people walking around in the building they're sitting in that have been working for 25 years and don't make $35,000. So, the problem is, they're the disease and we're the cure, to quote a Sylvester Stallone movie. The fact is that we're the only cure. And the only way we can cure it is by becoming involved and voting. We have to put people in that care. And if you don't, they won't.
In Fall River, that's easier said than done. That's the big problem. 8,000
people.
I know.
I mean, for a a bond that will probably exceed $400 million by the time we're done.
Exactly. And at the next city council meeting, they're going to discuss the bonding for the total project, which is $264 million.
That's right.
That's the total project. And they're going to talk about bonding the total project.
Yep.
Remember, we're responsible under your vote for the total bond.
Yep. Thank you very much. But as I said, it gets to be frustrating because, as I said, I had lunch the day of the election, and then I went to vote. But I sat in there and I listened had a nice meal, but fact is that I listened to people talking about it, and not one of them had any idea what they were voting on. It was, all I heard was, well, you know, I don't want new taxes, but if I vote no, we won't get a school. Now, that's not true. Oh, a no vote means you don't want the school. No, that's not right either. And as I said, the incessant misrepresentation of fact, I'm going to get a copy for one of our shows. I'm going to get a copy of that from the Chamber of Commerce, which said a no vote means that we will lose all our state money. And that's an absolute lie. That was their opinion. And as I said, that's not necessarily true. You know, this whole campaign was full of half-truths and misrepresentations because there was only one way they wanted to do it. That's pick your pocket. Your mic's down again.
I know. That's it. That's all that they wanted was to be able to pick our pocket. Hey, the Cherry Webb building's now got a new part owner. The Greater Fall River Development Corporation, which is the same corporation which put together the industrial park. They now own 35% of the Cherry Webb building because they forgave the loan to FROED, which was $1.29 million to buy that building and redevelop it. So, according to Ken Fiola, this is good for both of them because guess what? Now the mayor can't say that he's insolvent. Not that I believed he was insolvent in the first place.
Yeah. Well,
but, you know, this is getting to be ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, while we're on the topic of the mayor, City Councilor Ponte wants the emails, the text messages, all of it available for viewing by the City Council, either collectively or individually, but he wants it made available to all of them. And according to the request for those documents by the defense that's representing FROED, they want them made available in electronic format. Now, because the city has to provide them in electronic format, any of you can do a 6610 request to Judge Macy, Attorney Joe Macy, and say, I want the documents, and you don't got to pay for them. He has to provide them.
And I'm sure that you're not going to do that. So.
Oh, why would I do such a thing? That would be terrible, wouldn't it?
It's going to be good reading. It's going to be nice, nice reading. So it should be very interesting because sometimes when they think they're protected, it's a private conversation. Now we're going to find out. I'll bet you there's a few people mentioned in that didn't expect to be to have something said about them, but
I didn't want something said about them.
This is why they fought so hard to keep it private. But as Judge Weeks said, shame on them. You're supposed to be here to represent the people, and you're agents of the people, and you can't run this like it's your own personal playground.
That's right. And even Attorney Macy said that he wanted to protect the documents because he didn't want the names of people not involved to be released. Oh, we got some people to protect. I wonder who they're going to be.
Well, I kind of don't understand that because if their names are mentioned, they were involved, weren't they?
I would think so.
I mean, at least that's my spin on it. So, hey, stay angry. And we'll see you on Monday.
Have a great weekend, everybody. And remember, stay angry, and we'll see you later.